Good evening, beautiful humans. Welcome to the best duo grinding spot in the game. Which doesn't really say much because there is not much competition for it, but hey, if you have only one friend and you want to go and grind a duo spot, I suppose the Elvia altar imps are kind of your best option right now. It doesn't say much because we have Padix Island and Abandoned Monastery, so there really isn't that good competition, but it's the best. So I will go with that. Welcome to my review of the place, pretty much everything you need to know about it, and yeah, let's get started. Pretty much the same as usual. Once again, I spent 10 hours grinding this place, so we have experience, money per hour and Agris values, and obviously I wasn't alone, I had my trusty partner, Mr. Bubblemint. So yeah, gear wise and class wise, we were both Nova Awakening, so that's I guess convenient in a way having the same class. In terms of rotation, we kind of used the same rotation for most of the hours. Gear wise, I believe he has 277 AP with a Kutum, or around that, just very close to my gear score, and my gear is on the screen, about 285 AP with one black star weapon, a Tet Kutum, and basically all of that, those crystals. It's the same crystals as the previous video, the same kind of defensive type crystals, and full tier 4 pets. So you might need full tier 4 pets, especially after this place was kind of nerfed, as in monsters having less HP and dying faster. Maybe you need tier 4 pets to get similar results to mine, since once you learn the mechanic, you will see later, there are gonna be quite a lot of monsters, so your pets need to loot pretty fast. So, the main mechanic. How does this place work? It's actually very simple, it's nothing super complicated to understand. Basically, if you look on the map, you will notice a bunch of elite or violent monsters scattered around, and each of these violent or elite monsters has a couple of minions around it, basically a pack of monsters per each violent. The main mechanic is you and your partner pick one of these flags that kind of indicate where a rotation is. You both go in two different directions, so let's say you go left, your partner goes right, and each of you usually solos 2 or 3 of these packs, so that you in the end kill all of the minions. After all of the minions, the small monsters die, the violent is going to aggro you and he will have an increased chasing range, so basically you can pull him from much farther away, and you kill 2 or 3 of these packs to have a total of 2 or 3 violents or elites in total, and you drag those to the flag. And once you reach that, you wait for your partner to arrive as well. Once both of you are at the flag, you kill the violents, and those will spawn a bunch of additional monsters. And you basically repeat this over and over. In terms of the rotation, it's pretty much the one that was playing in the background while I was explaining the mechanic. That's the main rotation we used for most of the hours. There are a couple of others, obviously, that you can find throughout the place, but the rotation currently in the background, from what I understand and what I noticed, is the best one available in this place. Mostly because I personally did the exact same side every single time, and as far as I noticed, this is the only rotation where I can consistently pull 4 elites at once. When I don't have an Elvia weapon and I kill them slower, I usually pull 3 elites, then go back. Obviously we kill all of them, and then another 3 elites. I call this 3 plus 3 because you basically have to, in the time that they respawn, you pull 3 elites, then you pull the other 3, and once you are done, the previous 3 are already respawned. So basically it's 6 in total. If you do have an Elvia weapon and you essentially one-shot the minions, then you can pull 4 plus 4. So on my side, a total of 4 elites. This is again the only rotation where I noticed I have this many packs of violence around it, so I suppose it's the best one available. When you're pulling monsters, pretty sure you will notice this yourself, but If you do have an Elvia weapon, make sure you don't deal too much damage to kill the violence before you manage to pull them to the flag. And even if you don't have an Elvia weapon, sometimes if you try to pull 4 packs instead of 3, you might deal too much damage and you might end up killing one of those violence before you drag them to the flag. So just avoid doing that. Other than that, it's just as simple as that. You go and solo a couple of packs, you drag them to the flag, you kill them together, and that's pretty much it. This area doesn't have specific monster spawns like Fogans or Nagas, but it also has a boss. So that's another mechanic you can look forward to. The bag spawn. This one, it used to be broken at first, where when you see the bag message on the screen, stop attacking, don't kill violence, it was kind of fixed since then, since its first version. When I started, in my first couple of hours, the boss used to get bugged, where it would say it's about to spawn, but if you immediately killed a violent on top of it, then it would cancel the boss spawn. So that was very annoying. We did miss a couple of bosses because of that. And nowadays it was fixed to the extent of now it doesn't get cancelled anymore. The boss will go through the entire spawn animation. Basically, he will always spawn, but currently if you kill violence while the boss is in its spawn animation, then those violence will be wasted because they will not spawn additional monsters. So another thing that has to be fixed. This area began as being very annoying. I hated it quite a lot in my first couple of hours because it was very buggy. It was kind of the worst Elvia spot I saw, to the extent of it was constantly lagging. There were a bunch of lags. Either the server had issues, or just because there were so many monsters on the screen, it just constantly lagged the spot. In my first maybe 3 to 4 hours, I had these panic lagging moments where I might or might not die every single hour, so that was very annoying. The boss didn't, as I mentioned earlier, it used to not spawn properly, which again made us miss some bosses. And same for the violence. When we pull violence to the flag, if you kill the violence too fast and they overlap, say you kill 3 of these violence at the same time, they don't always all spawn monsters. I believe this is an issue that still exists today. If you can, try to kill violence one by one, or just don't kill them too fast on top of each other, because they might not spawn monsters, which is quite annoying in many ways. I believe in a couple of weeks, months, eventually if you watch this in the long run, it will be fixed. And in that case, yeah, it's the best spot to grind if you have one friend available. So yeah, let's look at the numbers. As always, the first stop is money per hour, the profit chart, in which case I guess I could give you the big answer straight up, which is on average about 217 million silver per hour if you do sell all of the Black Star materials. So the explanation part. These are the screenshots with my loot from the 10 hours. This is everything that I personally got. In one of the hours I did test Agris, so this one, hour 4. So that's why the trash is higher, and this is my partner's trash. For once I'm able to keep track. He sent me the data from his loot as well. You know what I mean. So this is what he got. You will immediately notice the big difference. I only dropped 3 tiers. The thing is to craft the necklace. He dropped 8, so a lot more. Originally we expected his money per hour value to be much higher than mine, just because of these tiers, but it's funny how in the end it almost cancelled itself out because of all of the other items. In terms of drop rate items, we both grinded with a blue loot scroll, and for a couple of hours, maybe 5, 6, I forgot exactly where it ended, but the 50% drop rate event, which is kind of the Arsha buff. In his case, he had a Kamasil blessing for the entire duration for 10 hours, so his Kamasil blessing was always active. I personally popped my Kamasil blessing only after the 50% drop rate event ended, to kind of balance it out. So I kind of tried to use the Kamasil Blessing as a replacement for the 50% drop rate event. So keep that in mind. Maybe that's why his profit is just slightly higher than mine, because he had the Kamasil Blessing for all of the hours. This is the breakdown for the trash. This is my trash and his trash. I asked for his values as well for the trash per hour, because from what he told me, I always did the better side of our rotation, which I assume it means I personally had more violence and more packs to kill on my side. So ideally my trash per hour should be slightly higher than his trash per hour for most of the hours. In terms of weapons, the Elvia weapons, it wasn't exactly a rule, but in most cases I would pick the first weapon that spawns and he would pick the second one after that. We just took turns. This is the total amount of Elvia weapons that dropped, so 3, 3, 1, 6. I just added together both my weapons and his weapons, so it's not just the ones I used. I tried to keep track of the bosses that spawned. I'm not sure if our 3 and our 1 had 0, maybe I just simply forgot to keep track of the boss on those. Also our 10 didn't have a boss, so that's for a trash per hour. This is the breakdown. Basically, these are all of the items that I got, the items my partner got, prices. This average number per hour is combined from both of us, because I mean it's 10 hours, you can just look here, divide everything by 10 if you want to see for each person, and then my profit and his profit. Yeah, I believe that's exactly, yeah, my profit, his profit. I made about 117 million silver per hour. If I do decide to save all of the black star materials, if I have a black star armor and for that purpose, and about 210 million silver if I sell the black star materials as well. In his case, he made 120 million silver from our 10 hours, so just slightly higher, and like 13 more, 223 million silver if he sells the black star materials. So quite interesting how despite him having like 5 more of these tiers, the profit is actually very close, like just barely any higher. And again, average from both of us, let's say 20 hours worth of grinding, 217 million silver is kind of what you should expect if you have a blue loot scroll, if you have a Kamasil Blessing, and you average all of the items across the hours. That's pretty much it for the money per hour. So let's look at the experience and Agris after that. Finally, after visiting so many Elvia spots, I finally found one that has bad experience. Up until now, like Nagas, Bloody Monastery, Fogans, they were all very close to Mirmok. It was always recommendable and good experience, but finally I can say Imps, the duo spot, it's not good. I don't recommend this place for experience. It's kind of around Polyforest if you don't use Marnie Stones, but Polyforest is better because it has Marnie Stones. In terms of an area without Marnies, basically it's under Akman or Histria. So Akman and Histria are both better experience than Imps, than the altar Imps, so just don't. I mean, it's decent experience, sure, you will get some, but don't pick this place if your main focus is to try to level up as fast as possible. For skill points, it's the exact same case, the exact same situation. Elvia areas don't really have good skill point the rate anyway, but Imps are just so far kind of the worst. So it's right here, pretty much at the bottom of the chart. There are a couple of other spots if I scroll down below it, but you can see it for yourself. I don't need to explain this or to justify it. Basically, skill point wise, it's one of the worst areas in the game, so you will not really get a bunch of skill points. Experience rate, it's so far, I forgot where it is, somewhere here. Yeah, it's just not amazing. You don't come here for experience, but at least the money per hour is decent, or as expected, around 200 something million silver. In terms of Agris, efficiency, how fast you're burning Agris points, it's actually a completely different story. I expected Agris efficiency to be just as bad as experience, but turns out it's not, because you only burn 25 points per monster killed, which is actually more efficient than the other Elvia spots. It's right here. So you're burning, let's say, between 65,000, maybe 70,000 points per hour. This depends on your clearing speed, but it's not bad. It's pretty much around the same amount of points you should be using for Thornwood. Right here, I wasn't seeing it. So it's pretty much the same speed as Thornwood in terms of burning points, but efficiency. You all know this is the most important chart. The second one, where ideally a spot should be as high up as possible. This is basically comparing using the least amount of points to make the most amount of silver, which is kind of what you want, isn't it? So the lower this number is, the more efficient an area is. That's why everyone recommends Thornwood, and I kind of use Thornwood as a metric of whether an area is worth it or not to burn Agris points. If you look in this, you will see the other Elvia spots that I tested so far, scattered around. I used to say Bloody Monastery was very efficient because it's pretty good. It's not exactly Thornwood level, but it's pretty good. But Imps are pretty much on par with Thornwood, which is really good. If you're looking for a place to burn your Agris points, this is so far the most efficient out of all of the Elvia areas I visited, which is actually good. If you have a friend, if you have someone who wants to grind with you, then you're actually not wasting your time burning Agris points at Imps. So in that aspect, I would actually recommend Imps. I would recommend you to burn Agris points here. That's pretty much it. That's all I kind of had to share. One thing I forgot to note earlier, we started at some point throughout our hours, you already know most likely, but a bunch of Elvia spots got changed. Imps got lower HP, and if I show you again the money per hour chart, this one, if you look at the trash per hour breakdown, it started with like 4.3 thousand, 4.3, 4.8. This one is the Agris session, which was really good with a bunch of weapons. This one was maybe close to 6,000 trash. Maybe hour 4 is the first hour we did after this place was changed. And after that, every single hour ended up with at least like 5.4, 5.5 or 5.6 thousand trash. So it went up quite a lot. In the end, I personally averaged about 5.2 thousand trash. My partner about 4.9 thousand trash. So a slight difference, mostly because of our rotation. Again, I had the better side, but overall, between both of us, it was 5,000 trash per hour. So keep that in mind. This is, clearing speed. These days, you should expect 5.5 thousand trash or maybe a bit higher than that. And that's it. I will leave it at that. Go grind Imps if you want. It's actually a much better spot than what I expected. I went into this again, after my first couple of hours, I was already set that this is the worst of the Elvia areas, that it's gonna be really bad, and I will not recommend it whatsoever. But after it was patched and the monsters became weaker, it's actually a really good spot. Money per hour, it's on par with Fogans and Nagas, so you're not really losing out on anything. If you grind with a partner, it's definitely more fun if you have someone else to grind with you, so that's a bonus. It can be a bit annoying because you will lag every now and then. You will see a bunch of frame drops because of the number of monsters on screen. Maybe that gets fixed in the future, but still, it's definitely more fun than grinding solo. So, take that however you want. It's good. It's not bad, it's good. The only bad thing is experience and skill points, which are underwhelming, but Agris is good, money per hour is on par, so I would actually recommend this. I'm impressed, is what I'm trying to say. It turned out better than what I originally expected. I will leave it at that. I'm rambling, so I will see you next time. I'm already almost done with Orc Camp as well, so expect that one to come out sometime soon. Until then, stay happy as always, and hope to see you grinding or not, because I don't want you to take my rotation. Bye bye.